My sibling was acting weird. What I discovered was shocking. For weeks, I'd been noticing something odd about my sibling, Sam. They've always been a bit of a loner, but lately, there was something different. They were distant, secretive, and kept disappearing for hours at a time. At first, I tried to brush it off. Maybe they were just going through something, but then, one day, I found something that made my stomach drop. Sam wasn't just acting weird, they were hiding something big. Something that, when I found out, changed everything. It all started when Sam began staying out later than usual. Now, I get that people have their own lives, but Sam wasn't someone who often went out. They were the type to stay home, read, or play video games all night. So, when I noticed them slipping out the door more and more often, I started to wonder what was going on. At first, I figured it was just a phase. Maybe they were meeting up with friends or going through a new hobby, but when I asked them about it, they always had a vague answer. Just out for a walk or nothing, just needed to clear my head. But the thing was, they didn't seem like themselves. Their eyes were always a little too wide, like they were hiding something, and they'd get really defensive if I pressed for more details. One evening, I was sitting in the living room, scrolling through my phone, when I noticed Sam coming through the front door. It was past midnight. I looked up and tried to act casual. "You were out pretty late. Everything okay?" They froze for a moment, almost as if they were trying to think of a good response. "Yeah, just needed some air," they said, sounding a little too rehearsed. But the way they said it made me uneasy. There was an odd tension in the air, and I couldn't shake the feeling that Sam was hiding something from me. I didn't know what was going on, but I couldn't ignore it anymore. I decided to dig a little deeper, just to see if I could figure out what was really happening. I spent the next few days trying to act normal, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously off with Sam. They were more withdrawn than ever, and when they were home, they seemed glued to their phone, texting someone constantly, only to quickly hide it when I walked into the room. This behavior went on for a week, and I finally decided I couldn't just sit back and do nothing. I'll be honest, I didn't have the best track record when it came to respecting privacy. So, one night, when Sam left for one of their late-night walks, I made my move. I waited a little while, then went into their room to see if I could figure out what was going on. They were always so careful about locking their phone, but this time, it was lying face up on the desk. I told myself it was just a glance, just to see if I could find any clues about who they were talking to or why they were acting this way. I reached for the phone, and to my surprise, it was unlocked. My heart raced as I scrolled through the messages. At first, it seemed normal, friends, casual chats, the usual stuff. But then, I found something strange. There were a series of texts, all from an unknown number. The messages were vague but alarming. Things like, "Did you get everything?" and "We'll meet soon. You know what to do." The tone was cryptic and urgent, as though Sam was involved in something far more serious than I could have imagined. I felt a wave of unease wash over me as I scrolled further. The most recent text was dated just a few hours ago. "It's time to move forward. I'll be waiting." Who were they meeting? And what did move forward mean? My hands shook as I read the texts over and over, trying to make sense of them. It was clear Sam was hiding something major, something I had no clue about. The messages weren't from a friend or family member. They were from someone who seemed to be giving orders. The thought of confronting Sam immediately felt overwhelming, but I knew I couldn't keep pretending like everything was fine. I couldn't sit on this any longer. I had to know what was going on, and I had to know now. My mind was racing, and the more I thought about it, the more frustrated I became. Why was Sam hiding something from me? Why the secrecy? Whatever was going on, it was bigger than just a few late nights or mysterious texts. When Sam came back home that night, I was waiting for them. I had the phone on the coffee table in front of me, the text messages still visible, and I was trying to steady my breathing. I didn't want to accuse them outright, but I knew I couldn't hold back. "Hey, Sam," I said casually, though my voice came out a little sharper than I intended. "We need to talk." Sam froze. I could see the hesitation in their eyes. "About what?" they asked, trying to sound casual, but I could tell they knew exactly what I was referring to. I held up the phone. "About this. Who are you texting at all hours of the night? And why is it so secretive?" For a moment, Sam just stood there, looking at me like I had caught them in the middle of something they couldn't escape. Their face turned pale, and their eyes flicked nervously toward the door, as if considering making a run for it. I don't know what you're talking about," Sam muttered, trying to downplay the situation, but it was too late. I had already seen too much. You can't lie to me anymore, Sam, I said firmly, my voice more assertive now. These texts aren't just about a late-night hangout. There's something you're involved in, and I need to know what it is. Sam shifted uncomfortably, their fingers twitching like they were debating whether to try to deny it further. Finally, they let out a heavy sigh and sat down next to me. Okay, fine, Sam said in a defeated tone, but you have to promise me you won't freak out. I nodded, though my heart was already racing. Just tell me the truth. Sam hesitated, their eyes darting around the room before locking on mine. I've been involved in something illegal, something I shouldn't have gotten into, but I did, and now I'm stuck in it. My blood ran cold. This was far worse than I had expected. I could barely process what they were saying. What do you mean by illegal? Sam, are you in trouble? They nodded, clearly uncomfortable with the words coming out of their mouth. I've been doing some things to help people who needed certain items for their businesses. Nothing major, but it's connected to a group I shouldn't have trusted. I was in shock. A group? What kind of group are you involved with? Sam looked down, clearly ashamed. I made some bad choices a while ago. These people asked for my help with logistics, moving things around. They told me it was just a small job, nothing too risky. But now I'm in too deep. If I back out, they'll come after me. It's not just about me anymore. I felt like the ground beneath me had shifted. Sam, the sibling I'd grown up with, the one I trusted above all others, was involved in something so dangerous and secretive. I didn't know who to be mad at, them for getting involved, or myself for not noticing the signs sooner. Sam, you have to get out of this. You have to stop working with these people before they drag you deeper. My voice was shaky, but I had to make them understand. You're in danger. You need to tell me what to do. I can help you. Sam shook their head. I don't know how to get out, your name. It's too late for me. I've already done too much, and I'm not sure if there's a way to leave without putting myself in even more danger. They're watching me. The weight of what Sam had just revealed hit me like a ton of bricks. I couldn't just sit back and let them spiral into something dangerous. I needed to help, but the more Sam spoke, the clearer it became that this wasn't going to be simple. This was way bigger than we could handle on our own. I can't just walk away from this. Your name, Sam said, their voice breaking. I've tried. Every time I think about getting out, I feel like there's no way out. These people have been keeping tabs on me, and I don't know who I can trust anymore. They made it clear that if I tried to back out, I'd be in serious trouble. I could see the fear in Sam's eyes. They were trapped in a mess they had no idea how to fix, and now they were looking to me for help. As much as I wanted to protect them, I realized this wasn't just about us anymore. If we messed up, things could get out of hand quickly. But Sam wasn't going to do it alone, and neither would I. We need a plan, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. You can't keep working with these people. You need to get away from them, fast. Sam looked at me, eyes full of uncertainty. What if I make it worse? What if they come after us? I thought for a moment, then remembered something I had learned when reading about people who had managed to escape similar situations. First, we need to cut off all communication. No more texts, no more meetings. If they can't reach you, they'll eventually stop thinking you're involved. Sam nodded slowly, but I could see the doubt lingering. But how do I stop them from coming after me? I can't just vanish. I sighed, pacing for a moment. You need to disappear for a while. We'll move you somewhere safe, somewhere they won't be able to find you immediately. The key is to make it look like you've just disappeared. Once you're out of sight, they won't be able to track you easily. Sam still looked apprehensive. What about the things I've already done? The people I've worked with? We'll deal with that later, I said, trying to reassure them. The priority is to get you out of this situation before it gets any worse. I was starting to formulate a plan in my head, but I knew it wasn't going to be easy. We'd need to be strategic, and most importantly, we needed to act quickly. I couldn't let Sam stay in this mess any longer. Okay, here's what we're gonna do, I said, sitting back down next to Sam. We'll start by disconnecting all communication. You're going to change your phone number, and we'll get rid of any evidence that ties you to these people. We'll make sure they can't track you. After that, we'll get you a new place to stay, somewhere they won't expect. The goal is to make it look like you've just vanished. Sam nodded, their eyes searching mine for reassurance. And you'll help me do this? Of course, I said. We're in this together. We'll figure it out. But as we started to come up with the details, a part of me couldn't help but feel that I was walking into something much bigger than I had ever imagined. The stakes were high, and if we weren't careful, everything could fall apart in an instant. The next few days were a blur of planning and action. It was clear that we couldn't waste any time. Sam was terrified, and I didn't blame them. I was scared too, but there was no turning back now. If we didn't act quickly, this could spiral out of control, and Sam could be stuck in this dangerous situation forever. The first step was cutting all communication. I had Sam turn off their phone, the one they'd been using to contact these people. We got a burner phone and a new number, hoping that would help throw them off the scent. But there was no guarantee it would work. These people were professionals, and I knew they wouldn't stop until they were sure Sam had completely disappeared from their radar. We also started going through Sam's apartment, looking for anything that could link them to the people they had been working with. It felt like we were going through their life with a fine-toothed comb, pulling out old receipts, emails, and notes that might give someone a clue about where Sam had been or what they had done. Anything that could be used against them had to go. It was a tedious and nerve-wracking process, but I knew it was necessary. "What about my car?" Sam asked, glancing at the keys lying on the kitchen table. "They could track it, right?" I paused for a moment, thinking. "We can't take any chances. We'll need to get rid of it too. We'll find a place to stash it until this is all over. You can't risk being seen." Sam swallowed hard, clearly not thrilled with the idea of losing their car, but they knew it was for the best. We agreed that they would take a bus to the new place we'd set up for them. It wasn't ideal, but it would keep Sam off the radar for a while. The hardest part was still ahead. Getting Sam out of town. We couldn't just leave in the middle of the night. We had to make it look like Sam had just disappeared without a trace. So, we packed a small bag with the essentials, clothes, personal items, and made sure nothing tied Sam back to their old life. "We're going to get through this," I reassured them as we finished packing. "You'll be safe. I'll make sure of it." Sam nodded, but I could see the fear still lingering in their eyes. "What if they come after me anyway? What if they already know?" "We'll cross that bridge if we get to it," I said firmly. "Right now, the goal is to get you out of here and make it look like you've left for good. They won't know what hit them." Once everything was packed, I called a ride for Sam. It was a quiet, discreet car service that would get them out of town without raising any suspicion. Sam got into the car and I stood on the sidewalk, watching them drive away. I felt a strange mix of relief and fear. We were doing it. Sam was on their way to safety, but the battle wasn't over yet. We still didn't know how these people would react, or if they would even find out where Sam had gone. I stood there for a few minutes, watching the taillights of the car fade into the distance. The adrenaline was still rushing through my veins, but there was a new sense of calm. For now, Sam was safe, and that was the only thing that mattered. With Sam safely out of town and on their way to a new, undisclosed location, I was left alone with the tension of the unknown. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe a little easier, knowing that Sam was at least temporarily safe. But I knew this wasn't over. We had to be strategic, careful, and most importantly, fast. We couldn't afford to let their former associates trace Sam. I spent the next few days constantly checking my phone, anxiously waiting for updates. Sam had promised to check in regularly, but there was always that gnawing feeling in the back of my mind. What if something went wrong? What if someone had figured out Sam's plan and was already looking for them? Every time my phone buzzed, my heart would race. But each time it was either a text from Sam reassuring me they were okay, or a news alert that had nothing to do with the situation at hand. Still, I couldn't let my guard down. I decided to take action, knowing that the only way to keep Sam safe was to stay one step ahead of the people who had been pulling the strings. I started going through everything I could find. Texts, emails, anything that might shed light on the group Sam had gotten involved with. There were a few things that stood out, but nothing that really gave me a solid answer. All I had were more questions. It wasn't until I came across an old receipt in Sam's room, a seemingly insignificant piece of paper that had been buried under some junk, that I found something important. It was from a storage facility across town, with an address that I didn't recognize. The receipt listed a storage unit, one that Sam had rented only a few weeks ago. Why hadn't Sam told me about this? I stared at the receipt, my thoughts racing. If Sam had been keeping something in storage, there was a chance it could be important. If they had been trying to hide something, this could be the key. Without wasting any more time, I decided to check it out. I drove to the storage facility later that afternoon, hoping I wasn't walking into a trap. My mind was filled with all kinds of scenarios. What if this was the last clue I needed to finally get to the bottom of everything? Or what if Sam had been hiding something far worse than I thought? When I arrived, I noticed that the place was tucked away in an industrial part of town. It was secluded, which made sense given how little I'd heard about it from Sam. I went up to the desk and asked for the unit number listed on the receipt, keeping my tone casual to avoid suspicion. "I'm picking up some things for a friend," I said, smiling politely. The receptionist didn't seem to think twice as she handed over the key. "Unit 67, she said, glancing at me briefly before turning back to her paperwork. "Down the hall." My nerves were on edge as I walked down the dimly lit hallway toward the storage unit. I had no idea what I was about to find, but I couldn't back out now. I reached the door to Unit 67, and with one deep breath, I slid the key into the lock. The door creaked open, and I stepped inside. The storage unit was surprisingly neat for something that had been tucked away and hidden. The air inside was musty, filled with the smell of dust and old cardboard. I turned on the light and took in the sight of what looked like regular boxes stacked against the wall, but there was something eerie about it. The feeling that I wasn't just looking at old junk, but at a place that had been carefully curated, like it was meant to hide something important. I started going through the boxes, carefully pulling off the top of each one, my fingers trembling slightly. Most of the boxes contained old files, books, and clothes. Nothing particularly strange. But then I came across one box that didn't seem to fit the others. It was taped shut with an excessive amount of tape, and it was heavier than the rest. Curiosity pushed me to open it, despite the warning bells ringing in my head. As I pried open the box, the first thing that caught my eye was a stack of thick folders, their edges worn, the paper yellowed from age. I set them aside carefully and continued digging through the box. Beneath the folders, I found something that stopped me in my tracks. It was a large binder, black with a gold emblem on the cover. The emblem wasn't anything I recognized, but it looked official, like it came from some sort of organization. I flipped it open and saw that it was filled with documents, names, addresses, and cryptic notes written in sharp, almost clinical handwriting. I felt my stomach drop as I flipped through the pages, reading bits and pieces of what was inside. It wasn't just a set of random papers. It was a record of names, likely people who had been involved in whatever shady operation Sam had gotten wrapped up in. There were addresses of buildings I didn't recognize, and timelines of events that made it clear that these people were operating in secrecy, pulling strings and controlling things from the shadows. But what caught my attention the most was the last page. It had a picture on it, a picture of Sam. I couldn't believe it. Sam's face was circled in red ink, and beside it, written in bold letters, was the word Target. My heart raced as I scanned the rest of the page. It looked like Sam had been targeted by this group, whether as a potential ally or someone they were planning to manipulate. It was clear that Sam had been involved with these people in a way that I hadn't fully understood. This wasn't just a casual connection. It was personal, and I had no idea how deep it went. The realization hit me hard. Sam wasn't just in danger. They had been watched. They had been part of something much bigger, and now I had the evidence to prove it. I felt a rush of panic. This wasn't just a family matter anymore. These people weren't going to let Sam walk away easily. They'd been keeping tabs on them for a reason, and I wasn't sure what would happen if they found out I had gotten this far. I took the binder and documents, carefully placing them back into the box, and I sealed it shut. There was no way I was leaving this here. I had to get out of the storage unit before anyone showed up, but I couldn't just leave with nothing. I took photos of the pages, careful not to miss anything. This was my only leverage. With one last look around the storage unit, I grabbed the box, locked the door behind me, and rushed out of there. The weight of what I had just uncovered pressed heavily on my chest. I had to get back to Sam. They needed to know what I had found, and they needed to make a plan fast. I couldn't get back to my car fast enough. The binder, now tucked safely in my bag, felt like a ticking time bomb. As I walked toward my car, I kept glancing over my shoulder, half expecting someone to jump out and catch me. The sense of urgency was overwhelming. Sam had to know what I found, but I couldn't risk getting caught with this evidence. As I pulled out of the parking lot, my mind raced. Sam had no idea how deep this went. All this time, I had assumed they were just caught up in something small, but This was on a completely different scale. These people were organized, dangerous, and they had been keeping tabs on Sam. I couldn't help but feel like I was walking into a trap, like I was stepping into something much bigger than I could handle. I spent the rest of the drive trying to keep my composure, but the tension was too much. As I pulled into the driveway, I took one last look around, making sure no one was following me. When I walked into the house, Sam was sitting on the couch, looking tired but calm. It was almost as if they were expecting me to come back. I sat down next to Sam, pulling out the binder and laying it on the coffee table between us. "You weren't kidding," I said quietly. "You're in deeper than you think." Sam's eyes widened as they took in the binder. They were silent for a moment, and I could see the weight of the situation hitting them hard. "What did you find?" Sam asked, their voice barely above a whisper. I slid the pages out one by one, showing Sam the names, the addresses, and the ominous red circle around their own face. Sam's hands trembled as they looked at the page. I didn't know they were watching me like this. "We need to get you out of here," I said urgently. "They've been tracking you, Sam. This isn't over." The fear in Sam's eyes was replaced with determination. "I can't just keep running. I have to deal with this, whatever it is." I could see they were trying to be strong, but I knew they were terrified. And for good reason. Whoever these people were, they were serious about what they wanted. We spent the next few hours going over everything in the binder, trying to make sense of what was really going on. The more we read, the more it became clear. This wasn't just a coincidence. Sam had been directly involved with these people for longer than I had realized, and they had a lot more on their plate than they had let on. We couldn't stay in the same place for much longer. I kept thinking about the target stamped across Sam's photo in bold red ink. They weren't just involved. They were being watched, marked, and possibly manipulated by these people. There was no way we could wait around for them to make their next move. "We need to get you out of here. We need to go somewhere they won't think to look," I said, pacing the room. My nerves were on edge. It wasn't just Sam's safety at risk anymore. It was mine, too. If I was helping Sam, I was involved now. But it didn't matter. We were in this together. Sam stood up, looking determined. "I can't keep running forever. I'll be okay. I need to make things right." The calmness in Sam's voice was unsettling, but I understood. They had been living with this secret for too long, and now they had to face the consequences. Still, I couldn't shake the worry. If Sam went after these people directly, what would happen? Would they retaliate? We decided that we'd lay low for a while. Sam would get out of town temporarily, find a new place where no one would know where they were. We couldn't go straight to the authorities just yet. We needed more evidence, something concrete that could protect Sam and prove what was really going on. "I'll make some calls, get you a place to stay for now," I said, trying to sound calm even though my heart was racing. "We'll figure out what to do with the documents. You just focus on staying out of sight." Sam nodded but looked frustrated. "I hate that I have to hide, but I know it's the only way right now." I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing by helping Sam hide, but I knew one thing for sure. We had to get them out of this mess before it was too late. As we finalized the plans, I started to wonder, how far would these people go to keep Sam from leaving? And how much danger were we really in? We moved quickly. Sam packed a bag with just the essentials, clothes, ID, the documents from the binder that had been the key to everything, and we arranged for a place for them to stay. It wasn't ideal, but it was as safe as we could make it. Sam would have to disappear for a while, lay low until we had more answers. The plan was simple. Sam would take a bus to a town a few hours away, far enough that the people they had been involved with wouldn't think to look. It wasn't foolproof, but it was the best option we had. I couldn't help but feel like I was sending Sam into hiding, but it was necessary. They had to get out of the line of fire. As Sam left, I stood in the doorway, my mind still spinning. I had the documents, the proof of what had been going on, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we hadn't seen the last of these people. Whoever they weren't the kind to let someone walk away without consequences. Before Sam got into the car, they turned to me, looking like they had something they wanted to say but couldn't quite put into words. "I don't know how to thank you for all of this," Sam said, their voice shaking slightly. "You've done more for me than anyone else ever could. I don't know how I would have gotten out without you." "You don't have to thank me," I replied, trying to keep it together. "We're family. I'd do anything to protect you." Sam smiled faintly, a mix of relief and sadness in their eyes. "Just promise me something. they said, stepping a little closer. Don't let this ruin you. You've done a lot, and you need to stay safe too. Don't get caught up in this mess any more than you already have. I nodded, feeling a tight knot form in my chest. I promise. Just take care of yourself, okay? And with that, Sam climbed into the car and drove away. I stood there for a few moments, watching them go, wondering if I would ever see them again, or if this would be the last time we crossed paths. The night felt heavier than usual as I closed the door behind me. I had done what I could. I had helped Sam get out of harm's way, but the lingering question of what to do next hung over me. The group Sam had been involved with was still out there, and they weren't going to let go that easily. I had to figure out how to protect both Sam and myself. But for now, all I could do was wait and hope that Sam was safe. As I sit here, reflecting on everything that's happened, I can't help but wonder. What would you do if you found out your loved one was involved in something dangerous and secretive? How far would you go to protect them? I want to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had to deal with a situation where someone you care about was hiding something and you had to make tough decisions? Drop a comment below and let me know what you would have done in my place. And if you found this story engaging, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more. Stay safe, and remember, sometimes the people closest to you have secrets you never expected. Always trust your instincts.